are 4 tetraploid already. Tetra means 4. So tetraploid, but carrying haploid number of chromosomes already. It produced the 4 granddaughter cells. Here, 4N, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Do you got it, B?
I got it on the end is 4N because it's 4 granddaughter cells, but on the really top one, on the interface, yeah.
On the interface, this is still diploid.
Yeah, and how it's become like tetraploid over there?
Because there are 4 daughter cells that are being produced from a single cell. Remember when the mitotic divisions happening, it produced 2 daughter cells. This one, it produced 2 daughter cells here. Okay? And these 2 daughter cells now will produce, on each one of that, will produce 2 new daughter cells. 2 on this one, 2 on the other one. So that will be produced 4 daughter cells from a single cell. That is meiotic division.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it now? Why do we have 4 here? Because this one will produce 2 daughter cells. This one. These 2 will undergo another division. Each one of those cells will produce 2 new daughter cells. And this time, the number of chromosomes is haploid, means half. You got it?
Yeah. So the first one is gonna be mitotic, and the second one is gonna be meiosis.
These are both meiotic division. Meiosis 1, meiotic 2. Meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. This is only happening in the gametes. Meiosis is only happening in the gametes. This is only happening on the sex cells.
Yeah, thank you.
But the rest of the body, they undergo mitotic division. So this is the only part in the body where the cells undergo meiotic division. Meiotic, not mitotic. Any other questions here? Is this clear? So when you say spermatogenesis, this is also happening in the female. The female gametes also undergo meiotic division. First meiotic division and second meiotic division. This is the same happening in the female gametes, in the eggs. Do you follow? Huh? So we have parts of the sperm. You have the head, you have the body, and then you have the tail. In the head, it carries the genetic information. So genetic informations in the sperm head is present. And then the head also contains an acrosome. And this acrosome, this is the acrosome, it contains an enzyme hyaluronidase. And that hyaluronidase is the one that can break the membrane of the egg cells, the zona pellucida. That is the membrane covering the egg. And that acrosome, when it touches or attached to the egg cell, the covering of the egg cell can be penetrated only by because of the presence of, can be broken down because of the presence of enzyme hyaluronidase. So the sperm penetrates the egg at the time of fertilization. And of course, the mitochondria, that is the part of the sperm that give it energy to swim. So the mitochondria this is a present of mitochondria on the body, and that is the one that give energy for the sperm to swim. And of course, you have they have the flagella for swimming. And the lifespan of when it is delivered to the female reproductive organ or tract, the lifespan of the sperm is 1 to 3 days. From 1 to 3 days, 24 to 72 hours. That is the lifespan of the sperm in the female reproductive tract. So the sperm mature in the epididymis. It will travel to the vas deferens and then to the ejaculatory duct. From the ejaculatory duct, it will travel to the urethra for expulsion. And the male produces million of sperm per day. The male produces million of sperm per day. How often they produce? It depends on how often the male ejaculates. So you have the accessory glands, the seminal vesicle, prostate gland. I say that a while ago in the beginning already. So 60% of the semen's volume came from your seminal vesicle. This consists of your vitamin C, your fructose, your prostaglandins. So this is, let me see here, where is the seminal vesicle here? So this is your seminal vesicle. So from your epididymis, it travels to the pelvic cavity near the groin or the inguinal region, the vas deferens, and then it surrounds it go over to the posterior end of your bladder. This is the bladder. And then it will enter the surface of your prostate gland. The urethra is enclosed by your prostate gland. So this is your prostate gland, and then you have here your bulbourethral glands that produce secretions, and that secretions helps in the lubrications during sexual intercourse. And this is the rectum. This is the bladder. Can you picture it now? Huh? So the glandular secretions mix with the sperm, it forms the semen. And the normal sperm count is around 15 million. That is the lower limit. Below 15 million per square count, because when we check on the sperm count of a male, we place it in a counting chamber. There's a slide where there are squares on it. And that's how we count the sperm. If we are analyzing it, if the male have a low sperm count, that's the reason why the woman or the partner cannot get pregnant, because of low sperm count. So we count it in a counting chamber, and there are boxes there. There are squares in the counting chamber, and one counting chamber should have at least 15 million sperm. That is the normal lower range of sperm count. 15 million per square count. That is measured under the microscope, the counting chamber. And then you have the external genitals. You have the scrotum. Of course, we know what scrotum is, and then the penis, which is the organ of copulation. And this is the shaft. of the penis, and the shaft contains erectile tissues. These erectile tissues, you have your corpus. These are muscles. This is the shaft, and there are muscles there, and those are the erectile tissues. That's what makes the penis hard when they are erect. It consists of two sets of muscles. You have the corpus cavernosum, and then you have the corpus spongiosum. This is your corpus spongiosum. And when the male is sexually stimulated, these muscles is filled up with blood. You have blood vessels here. And when the male is stimulated, those blood flow to those muscles and to the blood vessels, and those muscles becomes dilated. It become engorged. We will go over it as we go on the male sexual response. So you have here the two sets of muscles, corpus cavernosum and corpus spongiosum. And you have blood vessels here. And then almost at the tip of the penis, you have here the glans penis. The glans penis, it secretes sebaceous secretions, and it needs to be cleaned for hygienic purposes. Those males, there are some males that are not circumcised, and if they pull up the skin here is called the foreskin or the prepuce. That is the skin at the tip of the penis. If they pull it up, they can see the glans penis. And that glans penis produce secretions. And if they don't clean it, that becomes smelly. And that's what we call smegma. So, smegma is produced by your glans penis. And the skin that is being retracted at the tip of the penis is called the prepuce or the foreskin. But if the male is circumcised, that prepuce is cut. So the prepuce is cut. But there are times that when the child is small or during pubertal age, the foreskin or the prepuce cannot be retracted. And that's what we call the phimosis. It is called phimosis. Any questions on this? So if the boy has phimosis, they do circumcision so that the skin does not so that the glans penis can be cleaned. The secretions of the gland penis can be cleaned. Any questions on the parts? The external genitals? So male sexual response. What's happening when a male is stimulated? There are a couple of steps. There will be erection, there will be emission, ejaculation, and orgasm. So erection is when the male is stimulated, this is innervated by autonomic nervous system. The penis is innervated by autonomic nervous system. When you say autonomic, that is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. When you say sympathetic, it causes vasoconstriction. So decrease blood supply, decrease blood flow, that is parasympathetic. I was talking of sympathetic. Sympathetic is vasoconstriction, decreased blood flow. When you say parasympathetic, that is relaxation. There is flow of blood to the tissue, increased blood flow. So when a male is stimulated, blood flow to the muscles, to the erectile tissue. So it's going to be parasympathetic. Increase blood flow to the erectile tissue. And when the increased blood flow here, the muscle engorge. And when the muscle is engorged, the penis is in erect state. There will be erection. And that is parasympathetic. Increase blood flow to the erectile tissue, causing engorgement of the muscle. And that is erection. Blood engorge in the tissue, causing erection. And then emission is the movement of semen from the genital ducts. Remember your genital ducts, your seminal vesicles, your ejaculatory duct. That is the movement of the semen from the ejaculatory duct to the proximal urethra. In the middle here, it is your urethra. This is the urethra, the one in the middle. That is the tube that carries the sperm from the ejaculatory duct to the outside of the body, to the female genital tract. So emission is the movement of semen from the genital ducts to the proximal urethra, to the beginning of the urethra. And then orgasm is a pleasurable sensation at the height of sexual stimulation. So after erection, after emission, then it will be innervated now when the sperm is ejaculated. It will be innervated now by your sympathetic. Sympathetic, there will be decreased blood flow now to the erectile tissue. Sympathetic and parasympathetic, they are when one is firing up, the other one is stopped. It is in the resting state. So one is firing, the other one is a resting state. So when there is an ejaculation already, the sympathetic is the one that is firing up this time, decreasing blood flow to the erectile tissue, and the muscle now will become flaccid. It will now become flaccid after ejaculation. Do you follow? Huh? Are you able to follow what happened during erection, emission, and ejaculation? Where is the sympathetic happening? When you say sympathetic, there is a decreased blood flow to the erectile tissue. When you say parasympathetic, there is a decreased flow of blood to the erectile tissue. So what is happening when there is erection? Is it sympathetic or parasympathetic?
Parasympathetic.
It's
Parasympathetic.
When there is erection, is it sympathetic or parasympathetic?
Parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic, because there is a decreased flow to the erectile tissue. And in that way, when there is an increased blood flow, those muscles now become engorged. It will become bigger. And after ejaculations, the the penis become flaccid because of the decrease of blood flow, which is your, what is it? Sympathetic, parasympathetic? Decreased blood flow.
Sympathetic.
You're sympathetic. You will always encounter this as we go on. What is sympathetic? What is parasympathetic? When you say parasympathetic, there is an increased flow of blood. When you say sympathetic, there is a decreased blood flow. Okay? Remember that. Because if I'm going to tell you, when there is erection, there is a vasodilation. When there is erection, there is a increased blood flow because of the parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is a resting stage. I'm telling it to you this way because when we go to nervous system, you will get confused. Just remember, when there is a parasympathetic, there is increased blood flow. And that's what makes the penis getting bigger. And when there is a sympathetic, there is a decreased blood flow. When there is a vasoconstriction, when it comes to the heart, it increases heart rate. Vasoconstriction. Decrease blood flow, increase heart rate. So you will get confused. Just remember this first. When you say vasodilations in the penis, there is increased blood flow. Vasodilation, that is parasympathetic. When there is increased blood flow, it makes the penis bigger and harder because of the muscle. Okay? Any questions on this? Then the male sexual response? Okay. Now we go to the effects of testosterone. Effects of testosterone, it helps in the sperm development and development of primary sex characteristics in male, enlargement of the penis and the testes. And then secondary characteristics, secondary effect of your testosterone is the growth of hair, distribution of hair, and then distribution, changes in the voice. The voice becomes more deeper. And the skin thickens, glandular activity increases, and of course, male physique develop. So those are the effects of testosterone. Enlargement of the penis, enlargement of the testes, secondary increase of the distribution of hair, changes in the voice, and you can see that the skin of the male is more thicker compared to the female. Glandular activity increases and male physiques develop. Glandular activity, like your development of those, your seminiferous tubules, development of increased secretions of testosterone. Hormonal control of the testes. What controls the productions of the hormones? Testosterone. It is the hypothalamus. Remember this because this is also the same as in female. The hypothalamus has a lot of functions. It's not only what other control does the hypothalamus has that we took up already. What other parts of our body that the hypothalamus has controlled?
Emotions?
What is it?
Our emotions?
Our emotions. What else? What other things that the hypothalamus control? What other organs of our body?
Oh.
Respiration.
The respiration. Remember your hypothalamus. It also controls our respirations, emotions, our respirations, the breathing pattern, What else? So the hypothalamus controlled a lot of functions. We just took up your antidiuretic hormones by the posterior pituitary gland. Okay? So the hypothalamus controls the productions of testosterone. Once the level of testosterone is decreased, the hypothalamus will be stimulating, the brain will stimulate the hypothalamus to produce the releasing hormones. These releasing hormones will stimulate the anterior pituitary gland. Once the anterior pituitary gland is stimulated, if the level of the testosterone is low, it will release the LH and the FSH, luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone. The luteinizing hormone is the one responsible for the production of testosterone. And the follicle stimulating hormone is the one that produces, the LH, the FSH will produce your sperm. Follicle stimulating hormones. It will stimulate the productions of the sperm. In order for the sperm to survive, it needs testosterone. Once the level of testosterone in the blood or the level of testosterone in the blood is obtained already, the hypothalamus will stop the releasing hormone to stimulate the anterior pituitary. It will stimulate the anterior, it will stop the anterior pituitary to release the FSH and LH. That is the negative feedback mechanism. Remember what we took up? Oh, the antidiuretic hormone is the same thing. Once the blood volume